Oh, Canada, you're the best. No, really, you're just awesome. True North, strong and free. You've got poutine, maple syrup, overly apologetic people, and some of the best human rights protections in the world. And also, it's very cold. Very cold. Growing up in Canada, I always felt a certain level of comfort and safety when it came to my sexuality. Maybe that's because I grew up near the homo hub that is Toronto, but it goes without saying, Canada is one of the better places in the world to be lesbian, gay, and bisexual. But it wasn't always that way. This video is part of my 101 series where I took a look at a little bit of history in an LGBT related event or issue. So without further ado, let's take a look back at a bit of history from Canada's gay movement. Back in the early and mid 20th century, engaging in same-sex activity didn't make you gay or lesbian, it made you a sex offender. As such, you were treated like a sex offender. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police, or RCMP, would commonly keep tabs on people who went to gay bars, which is ironic because gays and lesbians went to those bars to feel a sense of safe haven and community. There's actually a long history of the RCMP working alongside the FBI. It wasn't uncommon in the 50s and the 60s for the RCMP to notify the FBI when someone who they thought was engaging in same-sex activity crossed the US border. So it actually wasn't until 1967 that Trudeau, not that one. Justice Minister Pierre Trudeau proposed an amendment that would relax laws against homosexuality. Trudeau is famous for his parliamentary quote,
"Take this thing on homosexuality. There's no place for the state in the bedrooms of the nation."
It was a huge deal because no other political figure at that time had even gone near homosexuality in a positive light. To be fair, he followed his parliamentary quote by saying that although the state had no place in the bedrooms of the nation,
what's done in private between adults doesn't concern the criminal code. When it becomes public, this is a different matter.
Homosexuality in public was a separate story. Okay, so back to the amendment. The amendment was proposed as part of an omnibus bill, and an omnibus bill is basically just a bill that includes a variety of topics and they're all unrelated. It was called Bill C-150. It decriminalized homosexual acts between two consenting adults over the age of 21. Alright, so we're making progress, we're moving forward. Get this though, a Catholic political group based in Quebec held up debate against the bill 3 weeks after it was proposed. They believed that communism, socialism, and atheism were behind the indecency that is homosexuality. I'm happy to report though that the gay agenda was clearly alive and well in 1969. 2 years after the decriminalization of homosexuality, 200 gays and lesbians in Canada did the unthinkable. They publicly protested. The protest was called We Demand, and it took place on Parliament Hill in Ottawa. Protesting for gay rights was not something that people did at that time because homosexuality was synonymous with being radical. Although that day it was pouring rain, those 200 gay and lesbian Canadians stood on Parliament Hill and protested for federal protections on homosexual people that we enjoy today. Many of those people came on buses from cities like Toronto or Montreal, stood out in the rain for hours, publicly protested something that was so controversial. Majority of Canadians did not approve of it. If that's not bravery, I don't know what is. However, no amount of protesting could stop the infamous 1981 Toronto bathhouse raids. Labeled as Operation Soap, the raid saw 160 police officers rush 4 of Toronto's most prominent bathhouses. There were 286 men arrested that day. The men inside the bathhouses later reported that the police subjected them to verbal and physical abuse. It was a huge turning point, yes, for the Toronto gay community, but also for the gay community in Canada as a whole. Just a couple days after the raids, 4,000 Canadian gay and lesbians stood at Queen's Park and demanded an inquiry into the raids and onto the police. It was the bravery of those gay and lesbian Canadians that allows someone like me to walk down the same Toronto street and not feel fear when I'm holding my boyfriend's hand. It was the same fight that pushed for the 1995 inclusion of sexual orientation into the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It's the same fight that lifted the ban on homosexuals in the military in 1992. It's the same fight that prompted the Supreme Court of Canada to give same-sex common law couples equal rights in 1999. And it's the same fight that brought nationwide marriage equality in 2005. While there have been a lot of changes in Canada, coast to coast to coast, one thing has always stayed the same. Change happened because brave gay, lesbian, and bisexual Canadians stood up and fought for change. But this is not to say that we have nothing left to improve on. Yes, we have marriage, but that's not the end of gay rights. For one, we still have large-scale homophobia. Just this past June, MACLEANS reported that Steinbach, Manitoba, which is 60 kilometers away from Winnipeg, is the most hostile environment to be lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender here in Canada. Within the school division of Steinbach, Any student who inquires about same-sex relationships or gender identity is pulled aside, prompting the teacher to inform their parents. This dangers young Canadians that may feel that they don't live in an environment that it's safe to be openly LGBT. On top of that, every young LGBT Canadian that MACLEANS spoke to reported having suicidal thoughts in the last year. Secondly, Health Canada recently announced that MSM, or men who have sex with other men, are allowed to donate blood after a 1-year deferral period.
That means you can't have gay sex.
This is down from a 5-year deferral period that we've been used to for the last few years. So you want my blood, but only after I don't have sex for 365 days. Isn't there a word for that? I think it's called discrimination. Canada has to rise up to the challenge and get rid of discriminatory laws that prevent gay men from donating their blood. Or did you know that outside of Ontario or Manitoba, gay conversion therapy, or reparation therapy, is still legal in Canada? It's therapy that basically believes that you can get rid of same-sex desires using faith-based or secular-based treatments. Last year, Global News reported that a handful of faith-based groups that offer conversion therapy are still registered with the Canada Revenue Agency. That means that your tax dollars reimburse their donors. There's a reparation therapy group based in British Columbia called Journey Canada, and they received over $400,000 in receipted donations just last year. Conversion therapy on minors is especially worrying because it can lead to an increased feeling of depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts. Not to mention, the shameful tactics of conversion therapy can give higher risks of drug use and homelessness. It took the bravery of those gay, lesbian, and bisexual Canadians that brought us the legal and social change that we enjoy today. From this point forward, Canada's biggest challenge in gay rights will be getting back to a point where we demand change, where we say that what's going on right now is not right. There is always room for social change. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I hope you guys learned something about gay rights and the gay rights movement here in Canada. I will see you beautiful people in my next video. Make sure to comment, rate, subscribe, and most importantly, smile. Bye guys.